Hey everybody, Mark from Circle of Dark Mother. This is the reading from the Embracing Lilith myth, part 16. Chapter 15. Then the waters returned and covered the chariots, the horsemen, and all the army of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. No, not so much as one of them remained. Exodus 14:28. And he, Samiel, is castrated so that he cannot beget, lest his offspring annihilate the world. Patai 81:458. We followed the Israelites and the other Semitic people as they fled Egypt. The three angels I was with took charge of making sure all the Israelites got out of Egypt without being stopped by the Egyptians. I followed too, but had no care for any of the humans. I still craved destruction, and I only needed an excuse to rain it down on anyone who gave me a reason. The angels used their power from Yahweh Elohim to part the Red Sea, letting the people cross. The multitudes walked along the dry seabed. Water held at bay on both sides of them. When they were almost across, the legion of Egypt followed behind. Trumpets and drums sounded while war cries echoed along the corridor of water. At first, I paid no heed because I really didn't care what they did. But then I realized Samiel rode on the chariot with Pharaoh, and his children marched with the soldiers. This wasn't just a human squabble, but also a spiritual battle. I flew between the Israelites and the Egyptians, blocking the way. I took solid form, not as the lovely Naama, but as my true self, with huge black wings and skin as white as alabaster. I stood my ground as the horde drew closer before eventually coming to halt at Samiel's command. He launched himself from the chariot at me, screaming the whole way. "What have you done? You helped them kill my son, you bitch." "No, Samiel, I didn't help them. I killed him, and all the firstborn myself." Samiel knew I loved Cain, so my revelation of my hand in his destruction, given in such a cold, unfeeling tone, made him pull back in shock. What do you mean? They brought me here to stop you no matter what. If it meant the death of Cain, then so be it. Samiel launched at me again, calling his children to come forward with him and take retribution for both the death of his son and my hand in stopping his plans. What Samiel didn't count on was that I no longer felt fear. I didn't care what he unleashed and cared nothing for my own life. I only cared about beating him. I raised my right hand and spoke the secret name of God. The dark force within me shot out, engulfing the entire Egyptian army, Samiel and his children. They all stopped dead in their tracks. With my left hand, I reached out again, spoke the secret name of God, and called forth the water. The same power I used to protect the remnant from the flood now helped to bring down the water and my enemies. I used my dark force to let the water take as many as possible, drowning humans, washing away demons, and leaving nothing in its wake. Out of the water rose Samiel. He flew into the air on a great jet of water, his eyes black as pitch, his horns extended and curled into the likeness of those on the head of a ram. He flew at me with water and then flame, trying to drive me back. For once our roles were reversed. Samiel was all rage, and I was completely calm. I took to the air, releasing the darkness from within. My power grabbed each of his arms and his leg, holding him in place. I flew toward him and stopped in midair, only a foot from where he hung prone. He glared at me and struggled against the bonds I created to hold him. "You will never stop me, you sow. I am Samiel, and I will not be denied. I will create endless children and take this world when and how I want. You can't stop me." I let a small smile cross my lips, and I said, "No, you won't." I reached out with my hand, becoming a mass of talons and energy, ripping his genitals along with his ability to procreate from both his physical and astral form. He screamed in horror and rage as I dropped the bits into the ocean to feed the sea life. I knew that this mutilation would eventually heal, and he would regain his ability to procreate, but it bought time that I needed badly. Now be gone. The black force holding Samiel began to cover his whole body. He tried to free himself, struggling against my power, until he faded like smoke and disappeared. I had sent him to the lowest pits of the dark realms, damaged and alone. For a second, I felt something like triumph, and then the emotional darkness took me again. I turned and looked at Senoi, Sensenoi, and Semegaloth, daring them to stop me, and I flew away to the east.